Today, we'll be presenting to you the outward representation of the inner aspects of that shared goal. Over these last 9 or 10 months, we initiated a project to meet a particular need within our growing organization. And in doing so, we initiated a project within ourselves to innovate the way our offices and programs run, to hold and pursue a shared vision for the future of Telecare, and to impact positively the way we provide excellent services to our customers. We come from all different backgrounds, demographics, and levels within the company. And today, we emerge as leaders to help inspire you to more effectively meet the needs of those we serve. Thank you.
So back in February of this year, Renee and Suzanne asked a group of us to get out a piece of paper and write down 3 things that we would do to make Telecare even greater. I remember feeling energized and excited by the assignment, not only because it seemed an opportunity for each of us as individuals to impact and influence the corporation, but because I had already been thinking about this on my own. I couldn't wait to share with my colleagues the ideas that had been circulating in my head. We were asked to break up into small groups, head outside, and return in 20 minutes with our ideas. Break up into small groups, head outside, and return in 20 minutes with our ideas. I feel like this line bears repeating because while the assignment was simple and straightforward, it wasn't given to us on a whim. In fact, there was absolutely nothing whimsical about the Emerging Leaders Program. There was a well thought out reason for everything we were asked to do. Small groups, for example. We were taught that the best decisions come out of groups of 4 to 6 people. Outside. We learned that the brain functions best when the amount of oxygen it gets is maximized. A change of scenery can stimulate creative thinking as well. Return in 20 minutes with our ideas. There's actually nothing functional about the time restrictions. Renee just likes to be in control. So there we were, 5 groups of 5, oxygenated heads, scribbling down high in the sky ideas about how we were going to make Telecare even greater. I was chomping at the bit to share the idea that I had been thinking about for the past few months, a Telecare exchange, employee exchange program, that it would allow employees to swap programs for a week. I go to Bend, Oregon. Bend, Oregon clinician comes to Hope House. Cool, right? Well, it turns out many of my emerging leaders colleagues thought so too. After transcribing all 75 ideas onto big white pieces of paper and plastered all over the room, we began our process of voting for our top choices for how we were going to make Telecare even greater. One of the top vote getters? Yep, you guessed it. Telecare Employee Exchange Program. We spent the next couple of months discussing the pros and cons of various ideas. And when it came down to a final vote, the administrator and training program came out on top. I couldn't help but to feel a twinge of disappointment that my idea hadn't made the final cut, and that I wasn't headed to Bend after all. I must also admit that I wasn't immediately bought into the idea of the AIT project. It wasn't until I started to examine the challenges and complexities of the administrator's role in my own program, OPS. Ernie's Buller. In my own program, that I began to understand just how important and critical that role is in developing and maintaining a culture that is conducive to healing and recovery. The connection between a strong administrator and the quality of care for the consumers we serve is simply undeniable.
growth projections come with some challenges. Opening new programs means hiring many more new administrators. But our company's 12-month turnover rate is a little over 16%. And the cost to hire a new administrator is upwards of $140,000 per hire. In the coming year, Telecare will have to hire at least 34 new administrators. However, in fiscal 2018, none of the 21 administrators hired came from internal promotions. So this chart illustrates the projected growth of new programs over the next 5 years. In the coming year, we expect to have 133 programs, and by 2022, 177 programs. Our emerging leaders, with the help of some HR data, identified these factors that drive that cost of $140,000 per new hire. The calculation is based on the cost of turnover calculation that's available online. The most compelling factor is the number of days that the regional administrator has to spend, sometimes up to 90, to train these new administrators. Additionally, the cost of our lost productivity cannot be overlooked. So our emerging leader cohort recommends the adoption of the administrator and training program. And we have two goals. One is to increase the number of internal candidates for administrator positions, and two, to reduce the turnover cost to fill those positions. So this presentation will help explain our program and then ask for your support to launch the administrator training program.
As statistics shows, it takes time and valuable to fill openings for training those valuable leadership positions. With the fast-paced Telecare is growing, the organization needs administrators who can demonstrate leadership ability, effective communication, familiarity, and operational concept and procedures, and also who share Telecare's future outlined in our Destination 2020. Growing administrators from within the organization is the most cost-effective way to do this, as internal staff are already familiar with Telecare culture, organizational culture, and RCCS recovery principles. The AIT program our cohort is proposing will provide the opportunity for internal staff to be trained over 12 months to effectively meet the needs of the administrator role in a variety of settings. This includes supporting program staff to provide better and more integrated care, being better partner to customers, creating secure and thriving workplace, and being more competitive as a provider, as well as helping programs become stronger, smarter, and more skilled. Let's hear from Telecare partners and employees as to how administrators, as leaders, support the achievement of Telecare mission.
In order to answer the question of why a good leader is important, our emerging leaders went out to the field. And so we have a few videos that we'd like to share for you today. The first one is a client, Amber, from Telecare BHC.
We're rooting for Amber.
We're all rooting for Amber.
Go Amber. Oh, look at it.
What's happened yesterday?
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She has stage fright.
Yeah.
Know what happened to Amber?
Okay.
We're moving.
The next should be, okay, so the next one we will hear from is the case manager, Shauna, from Telecare Age-Wise.
Just started minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, can I just say that we rehearsed this 3 times? And we had sound, and we had internet, and it did not cash. Just saying.
It's role of management, something always goes.
I know.
It's only when you actually are in live.
Yeah.
Details. We've all lived it.
So I apologize for these two.
She had some interesting points to make about how good administrators help contribute to the enthusiasm and desire to help provide better care to our partners, and how the administrator holds a lot of the program culture as a kind of container, and can help others get more enthused about providing services.
Oh, thank you.
A little bit.
And
We'd like to
I
try
think
the other one.
that they're not going to go through. We also, so what the emerging leaders did, who would like to explain what your interview process was? You do? Okay. So we'll hear from Kimberly in a little bit to give you a little more information. But they went out and interviewed lots of folks, but one of the things that we did is interviewed the people that we serve in addition to the line staff. So we tried to think about all the different people that an administrator would touch. And that's what you didn't get to hear. All right, so continuing on.
When determining the application of our Emerging Leader Administrator and Training Program, we took in consideration a variety of skills who would, when evaluating who would qualify. We didn't want to eliminate leaders who may be in the process of obtaining degrees, licensures, or skills, but we wanted to also be realistic about who, at the end of the journey, will be ready to set into this journey. We assessed education level against the current job descriptions for various types. We also evaluated the necessary licenses and certifications against the current job descriptions for various program types. And we came to the conclusion who is ready for to apply. Administrators in training strongly suggest staff who hold a master's degree and are part of our leadership program. When determining what a potential AIT will need to provide to be considered, we benchmarked the application process against our emerging leaders application process we found to be a very good standard. Thus, with a few modifications, we made it more targeted to our leaders to come up with our application process. How to apply. Information can be found under the Telecare SharePoint site. The application entails a letter of interest and intent from the applicant to your administrator addressing the reason for you pursuing the administrators in training program. A letter of recommendation from a coworker, and a letter of recommendation from your administrator, and a current resume. Of course, the SharePoint site will be created by whoever's spearheading this program. The final stage of this process will be evaluating the criteria. The emerging leaders purposely left this part blank as a part of our hiring managers and decision makers for our administrators. For our current administrators will know the best criteria. We will be able to identify those leaders who show potential, show passion, and show a dedication to Telecare and our values. We will be able to evaluate the responses given from the letters of recommendation and pick the best employees for this process. The second part of this process is who will be in the selection committee. That part, again, we will leave in your trusting hands.
In an effort to really help them adjust and learn the curriculum ahead of time before their program opens, the curriculum is designed to be flexible. It's designed to be self-driven, and it's designed to be comprehensive. For that reason, it be adapted to start administrator programs, so they can learn before their program even starts. But our main goal here is to encourage internal candidates because we want to promote internally. And how do we do that? Well, the main goal is that we can start having interested candidates try out the program, see if it's a good fit for them. It's a self-driven program for that reason. They can build a better relationship with their administrators, they can travel to different programs, they can really get exposed to the day-to-day and the different roles an administrator has. And additionally, I do want to ask, you must be wondering, how will this benefit individual program sites? So I want to ask the audience, how many here are administrators in their respective programs?
Or work.
Or yes, or work. Because this will apply to you too. So you don't have to answer the next question, but how many of you felt like you didn't know what you were doing on your first day at work? Don't lie. And so you know the guidance, the tips, the advice you've received throughout your entire time as administrator? How awesome would it be to share that with someone from the administrator and training program? So they can start their first day feeling more confident, feeling like they have someone that really have their backs in their programs. On top of that, how many administrators feel like when they're on vacation, they're like, oh, who am I supposed to contact? Can I make sure everything's going to be okay? We have amazing regional directors and administrators. And at the same time, it would benefit the program to have someone in-house really know the day-to-day of an administrator, know what it really entails. So you can go on vacation and not have to think about work.
I love that.
So it sounds like you guys are sold already. And you know, in the investment in this program, like an administrator told me, is capital well spent because you can't put a price tag on training successful leaders in your field. And I think as we go over the curriculum, you'll better understand the amount of time and research and effort really put into it to make sure it's a comprehensive program so that it really could help future leaders. And we are hoping that this can be advertised side by side with emerging leaders. It reinforces that Telecare Corporation and individual Telecare sites are really committed to their STEM growth. I remember when I was first approached by my leaders in the program, to apply for the Emerging Leaders Program. What an honor it felt to be approached to apply for that. And it made me feel more motivated to really remain in Telecare Corporation, Telecare Changes specifically, because we have a lot of amazing leaders there who really care about me and my career. And this is your opportunity to make your staff feel the same across all levels. So we will talk more about the curriculum, and you will see how much time and effort and research we put into really making it as comprehensive as possible.
So the administrator and training program is designed to last 1 year, while the participants work directly with administrators, current administrators, regional directors, and mentors from a variety of specialties. As Renee mentioned, we went out into the field and we interviewed administrators and regional directors, and some of the most profound feedback that we received were the lack of mentorship and the need for it. Not only mentorship, but an ongoing relationship that is developed and sustained over time. And this program is written into this program.
You can find a detailed description of the 12 learning blocks we've developed inside of the booklets. A few of the highlights include implementing a cultural agreement and census growth program at their individual programs, and also completing a regional rounding experience with our regional administrator.
We have developed a program to educate and train exceptional leaders to the specific role of the Telecare Program Administrator. The training fills in some of the critical gaps based on feedback from current Telecare admins.
So we review previous developed curriculums like the regional rounding competency, the Learn and Grow guide, and previous AAT program materials. With Telecare and outside of Telecare, we gather all the information that we found useful, and that's what we have for you guys today.
So this program will train leaders by preparing them for a role at a Telecare program. The program will enable individuals to easily step into the job and competently perform essential tasks and leadership roles we rely on them for.
We, excuse
surveyed or interviewed administrators, regional directors, and staff to get a perspective on the roles and functions of an administrator and areas where they need a little extra help. And this helped us come up with the curriculum for the AIT program. So some of the administrators felt that to be an effective leader, they believe that one had to have emotional intelligence, relationship management, which compasses about 80% of their job. Able to see the big picture, not just closed mind, just looking down that one narrow way, but the big picture. Also able to think strategically, because as an administrator, you think outside the box. Also, some of the regional directors felt that administrators, in order to do their job effectively, he or she needed to possess the following skills. Able to confront difficult situations immediately. Don't let it just fly by and just say, I'm going to deal with it in an hour, 2 hours, or like we said, not within 24 hours. Let 24 hours go by. They have to be flexible. An administrator their job is flexible because there are so many hats that the administrator wears, and if they're not flexible and they're saying, oh, I can only do this right now, well, what about all the 10 other things you have to do down the line? So also be able to have good communication, problem-solving skills, and able to motivate others. Because if you're not able to motivate your team, then, and if they don't see that motivation, how are they going to be motivated to go out there and do something? Now, when we talk to staff, they thought that an administrator should be confident, have diplomacy, even temperament. They need to actively listen to their staff, also have a positive attitude, and value each employee, because everyone is unique in their own way. Encourage harmony amongst staff. Be approachable. Have you ever came across an administrator where you walked up to him, what do you want today? So they have to have that approach, not closed, but open, so that people can come in, have that open door policy. Be humble and understand the program culture. Now, we also ask administrators, what are some of the things that you think you need a little help in, or you wish you had a little bit more training? And some of them stated finances within the finance realm. For example, budgeting, or being able to read the income statements. Also with contracts, negotiations. Some of them didn't feel comfortable negotiating a contract, or some of them had clinical backgrounds, didn't have that business background where they could go and say, okay, well, I know this from business and from my economic class, my accounting class, and I'm able to go, I can play with the numbers. But if you're not used to that, if you didn't have that background, it's going to be hard for you. And also they wanted to know who to go to. Who can I go to when I need that help? So these are some of the things that we got back from the interviews that we did with the administrators, the regional directors, and the staff. Now, you've heard from my colleagues about the curriculum, and so the AIT will help them become more familiar and learn the different hats and roles of an administrator. The following are examples of the curriculum topics the AIT participant will follow. But you can find a detailed, comprehensive list of the curriculum focus and the ones that have the packets, and also you can get the packet information from Renee. So they'll go over job basics, where they will learn about SharePoint and TOPS, also communication, how to communicate with corporate staff. Sometimes you think about corporate staff and you're like, well, they're up here and I feel like I'm down here. So what is that lingo? Well, how do I really communicate with them? Also, they're going to learn administrative tasks and responsibilities, clinical documentation, They're going to understand county billing and contract objectives. They're also going to learn about contract outcomes, reports, and audits. Then they're going to go into program specifics where they will learn, about the payee responsibilities. They will learn the nursing, dietary, clinical aspects of their program, and they'll learn about inpatient programs, outpatient programs, and nursing home programs. They'll also learn the policies and procedures, and then they will become more familiar with finance, working with the BOM and the regional BOM, and also the customer. They will also learn about leadership communication skills, and this will help them become aware of barriers and leadership styles by attending various training sessions, currently sponsored by Telecare. And just to reiterate, the AIT program is self-driven. It's flexible and can accommodate both the AIT participant and the administrator's schedule. So you may ask, who would benefit from the AIT program? So who will benefit? Well, you see us, the emerging leaders. We are the future leadership of Telecare. Also, staff at our programs will benefit as well. When you think about, let's take for example, you may start off as a clinician, and then you're promoted to a team leader. Then you get promoted to clinical director, and then you may say after clinical director, oh, I think I would be a good administrator. I've learned so much in the positions that I've held. I'm able to communicate effectively with my staff, but then I want to do this. So this would be the next step, was to be a administrator. So also, when we promote from within, it boosts the morale of staff. So if we don't see any promotion from within, staff's like, well, Telecare does not care about my growth. But when we promote from within, we're like, oh, wow, man, that person got promoted. I know I can do it. So it boosts our morale and make us say, okay, this is a good company, and I'm going to invest everything I can into Telecare. Thank you.
You've heard my colleagues say, and I'm sure you've heard over and over and over again, you're growing very, very rapidly. But in that growth, we want to make sure to not lose sight of our mission and our common goals. So part of, Telecare already has, we have our Destination 2020, and we have certain tools that are in place to help grow and promote staff into leadership positions. That is part of why the Emerging Leaders exists. It came out of that rapid growth. So that's why we exist, and that's why we are also promoting forward an AIT program to be reinstated. Part of that, we want to have another tool that will help recruit, educate, and promote quality leadership within Telecare. People that have the Telecare mission in mind, people that have that passion, that can move that forward. Because again, like we've heard from my colleagues, having an effective leadership, person in leadership, having an effective administrator, trickles down to everyone who's within the program, trickles down to all of your staff, and trickles down to the clients. Our goal in developing this program is definitely to cultivate competent and effective leadership positions. Our key focus overall is to promote our clients' growth and recovery in a safe environment to do so. On an organizational level, we can also spend time in cultivating and developing our leadership team so that they can promote our clients' recovery and growth. The AIT is a way that we would like to do that, and in doing so, we get closer to our goal and our mission in delivering effective behavioral health services across the board. We want to make sure that we're engaging our clients who have a complex set of needs in their recovery of their health, hopes, and dreams, within building a sustainable and ongoing culture and cultivating effective leadership. And that's why we ask for you to consider our AIT program.
The Administrator in Training program would be the ultimate investment in Telecare's company, organization as a whole. So far, we talked about good leadership, what it could look like, and how we would be able to develop it. But right now, I would like to challenge all of you to consider what not investing in leadership